Welcome back everyone. So after we learned how to create a database, drop it, create a table, and drop it and create the constraints, let's now see how to create DSG database with all the tables in that database. Let's do that first in MySQL and after that in Microsoft SQL Server. First, let's be sure that we deleted or dropped DSG. Click anywhere here, right click and drop schema. Click drop now. So we no longer have this database. So now we can create this database from scratch with all the tables. Let's open a new SQL query from here. I will paste the SQL code here to create DSG database and all the tables. First, we need to create DSG database, so we type here create database DSG, and after that we need to use to connect to DSG so we can create all the tables inside DSG. So first we need to start with the tables that don't have any foreign keys. These tables doesn't need a foreign key to reference to, so we can say these tables are independent. Starting with department, and department here we type create table department open parenthesis, department ID is the first column, the type is integer, not null, we don't want any null value, and auto increment. We want the values here to be added automatically and increased automatically, comma. The second column here is department name and it is variable character because it's gonna to be a name. We need variable character and I used here 255, the maximum. In case that the name is less than 255, it will shrink. And not null. I just need to enforce a policy that the department name is entered, comma, and in MySQL to create a primary key we type primary key and it will be department ID, the first one, close the parenthesis. However, we need the auto increment to start with 100. To make any modification on a table, we need to type here alter table, table name department, and auto increment equal 100. In this case, the value will start from 100 and increase by 1. So this is the first table. The second table that doesn't need a foreign key is location. This is a reference table. So we type create table location open parenthesis. The first column here is city code, and city code is not a number, it is a character. So we need to use a variable character, and there is nothing more than this. So for the safe side, I put 10 here. It's probably going to be less than 10 and not null, comma, city name variable character 255, not null, comma, country variable character 255, comma, and the primary key here is the city code. I close the parenthesis. So now we have two tables. Let's see what is the third one. The third one here in DSG database is institute. And by the way, to create all these tables, you need to have ERD diagram with you so you can look at them one by one. So I'm creating the database and the tables inside that database based on the ERD that we created in the previous tutorials. The third table that doesn't need a foreign key is institute. So create table institute between parentheses institute ID, it is integer, not null, and auto increment. I want the values to be added automatically and increased by 1, comma, institute name, and it is a string, so it's a variable character, 255, the length, and not null. The policy here to enter a value, not to be left without a value, comma, and the primary key here is institute ID, close the parenthesis. The next table that doesn't need a foreign key is project. So create table project between parentheses, project number, it is integer, not null, and auto increment, comma, project name is a variable character, 255, not null, start date, the date that the project starts, the type of this column is date and not null. The next column here is end date. And the type also here is date. And I don't want to enforce null value because when the project starts, we don't know exactly when the project will end, so we can leave it empty or enter any estimated or expected end date. The next data type is budget. This data type is a float because we might have some decimals. This is money, so we might have some decimals, and not null because I need to enforce entering a value for budget. And finally, the primary key here is the project name. And again, I need the project number to start from 2000. So for this purpose, I need to make a modification to this table. So alter table project auto increment equal 2000. That means the values will start from 2000 and increase by 1. Let's first execute the code from the beginning until this point to create the project and alter the project. This part of the whole code here, execute. We got all these greens. That means all tables have been created successfully. Refresh. We can see here the database. Click on tables. We can see all the 4 tables that we created. So first, we created all the tables that don't need foreign keys. In the next tutorial, we are going to complete creating the other tables in DSG database. So stay tuned.